Good morning, it's Dr. Garrett, and I'm here at Empowering Health today. And I wanted to do something a little bit different. We have a lot of people who ask us about supplements and what supplements do what and how does this work in the body. So I figured it might be kind of cool for me to go through and kind of explain some of the supplements, some of the protocols that I use, why we use them. Now, this does not replace medical advice. I would really like to see you be able to customize a program to suit your needs. Not everything is cookie cutter. Not everybody is going to take the same thing, but I'm going to give you some basic protocols that we like to follow here in the office. So, step one, root cause of disease. This is what I specialize in. It's finding out why this happened to you, why your blood pressure is up, why you're gaining weight, why are your hormones off. And so we have to look at root cause. The first thing that we find that breaks down in the body are the adrenal glands. They're these little bitty glands that sit on top of your kidneys, and they're super duper important. One of the things that they like to do is secrete some of your circulating catecholamines or stress hormones, things like cortisol, things like corticosteroids. And this is going to help your body, go into fight or flight, help you to understand, oh, I'm scared, or I have a deadline to meet. Oh, here's some cortisol. Let's get you through this deadline. Now, they also secrete a couple other things that are super duper important for the body. Testosterone, believe it or not, both men and women need testosterone, and this can come from our adrenal glands. Now, when one hormone is off, every other hormone is going to be off in the body too. So if you have what we call adrenal fatigue, and we'll explain that a little bit as well, then what can happen is your testosterone will go off, and then your sex drive's off, and then your hormones are off, and then you don't have energy, and then you're not sleeping, and then you have joint pain. Then you get estrogen dominance where you're gaining weight and you're getting tenderness in areas you shouldn't, you're getting discharge in areas you shouldn't. And so we want to make sure that we're balancing this. And that comes from the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands are also responsible for creating dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter that is responsible for peace, drive, focus, determination, your reward center. And so dopamine is super duper important. Now the same thing applies. If we pull on one neurotransmitter, like dopamine, then the other ones are going to fall apart. Things like serotonin, things like GABA. So then you're noticing insomnia, you don't feel at peace, you feel stressed out all the time, you feel anxious. And so we want to make sure that we are balancing these correctly. So what causes the adrenal glands to break down? Well, stress. Stress is one of the big things. Emotional stress, toxins from your environment, whether that's formaldehyde in carpet, whether that's xenoestrogens that we're getting from Glade plugins or from candles or from breathing in car fumes, from sitting in exhaust fumes for too long. This can also come from things like mycotoxins or mold. This can come from not enough nutrition, so not having the right vitamins on board. Now, I've told you before, cholesterol is important. We need cholesterol in our body. It protects our brains. It helps with hormone regulation. Very, very important. Now, in order for us to have a good amount of cholesterol, you need it between about 150 and 200, and then your body can do what it's supposed to. In the interim, you'll also have to have B vitamins and antioxidants on board in order for all of this to work. So cholesterol mixes with B vitamins, which creates something called pregnenolone. Pregnenolone is going to split off and create DHEA, which downregulates into testosterone with the use of B vitamins and antioxidants, which aromatizes down into a natural form of estrogen. Now, there is another hard stop. If for some reason it can't follow down this pathway the way that it's supposed to, it goes down the cholesterol to pregnenolone to progesterone, and then if it cannot switch over into DHEA, testosterone, and estrogen, it falls further down into cortisol. Now, cortisol is important for our bodies. It helps us to meet deadlines. It's what gets us up in the morning. So when the sunshine comes up and that sunshine hits your face, your cortisol should peak to about 20 to 24. Throughout the course of the day, it should fall off until melatonin picks up and takes over in the evenings. Now, some people who are under undue amounts of stress, whether that is PTSD, whether that's violence, whether that's financial stress, even physical, emotional stress, or even if it's something like a food stress, then what can happen is that cortisol will go a lot higher. And so then you're very stressed. It's that tired but wired feeling you're having. Now, sometimes cortisol gets dysregulated. So instead of at 6 a.m. the cortisol coming up, now the cortisol is coming up at maybe 3 or 4 in the afternoon, or right before you go to bed, and then it's crashing during the day. So you can have a dysregulation in the circadian or normal rhythm. So what do we want to do to make sure that this is working well? We want to make sure that those adrenal glands have all the nutrients they need. Now, another thing that happens with people who have high cortisol levels is after time, cortisol can be very damaging to the brain, so the body is going to down-regulate cortisol so that it doesn't damage your brain. When that happens, we go into something we call adrenal fatigue. It's not really fatigue, it's just a down-regulation. And sometimes you get stuck in that rut and you can't flip back on and you can't turn back on those adrenal glands. So adrenal glands also secrete something called aldosterone. Now, aldosterone is a potent vasoconstrictor. It causes the blood vessels to clamp down. When you start going down into this other path, this cortisol or pregnenolone steal, instead of creating hormones, you start creating more cortisol and more aldosterone. Blood pressures go up. You start noticing weight gain, hips and belly. You start noticing more of that moon face. You start noticing you're tired, you're wired, you can't sleep, you're having issues with insomnia, headaches, brain fog. Then you notice that your sex hormones begin to fall apart. So no longer do you have energy, no longer can you make muscle. You start to notice more fat is accumulating. You notice you have more joint pain, more night sweats, more hot flashes, more dysregulation in your body. So what we want to do is we want to fix those adrenal glands. So how we do that is figure out what has happened to your adrenal glands. Are you in a high stage where that cortisol is too high, or are you starting to fall off the wagon here and all of a sudden cortisol is being suppressed? So what we typically do is we put you on supplements for a short amount of time to push you back down into the right pathway so that you're creating the correct kind of hormones. So we're putting you on pregnenolone. And usually I'm just doing pregnenolone just one time in the morning. We usually just run through a bottle. It's usually not a lot. And we're also giving you DHEA. Now, the dose range for DHEA is wide. It is going to help your body create hormones. And so one of the things that I tell people is we have to really pay attention to how it is affecting your body. If you're starting to notice irritations, irritability, then you have too much. So we may want to back it off a little bit. Usually it's just a small amount that I'm giving you, anywhere between 5 and 25 milligrams, just to push you in the right direction. Again, everything is based off of that lab work though. I want to see what your testosterone is. I want to see what your estrogen is. I want to see what your DHEA is doing because it's a very wide range. And I want to see if you're in that cortisol slump or if you're in a period of cortisol high. Now, on top of that, when we figure out exactly what your adrenal glands are doing, we may be doing a little bit of compensation. I may be doing some licorice root. Now, there's a couple caveats to licorice root. Usually licorice root doesn't last in the body very long, so we're doing this in the morning. Usually like between 6 and noon, we're doing a little bit of licorice root. Licorice root can cause your blood pressure to go up. So I really caution people, don't go take this all willy-nilly until we know what your lab levels are doing and you have a set plan. So usually we're doing a little bit of licorice root. Now, if you are one of these people where your cortisol is too high and you're a state of high, then I may be giving you something like phosphatidylserine just to bring it down and bring you back down to that regulatory path. Now, there are other supplements out there like Adrenal Calm or Catechol, which helps to calm down the adrenal glands and help to balance things a little bit better. But there are things that you can do at home to help regulate your cortisol a little bit easier without having to worry about supplements and any kind of side effect from supplement. Step 1, wake up with the sun. Make sure that as soon as you wake up, you're getting a nice bright light on your face. If you live in the areas like we do and all of a sudden we don't get sunlight until like 8 o'clock in the morning, it's not super great, especially for people who are early risers like me. So in my room, I have an artificial sun. It's a little hatch machine, and so the sun rises in the morning, and that's what usually gets me up in the morning. Now, throughout the course of the day, you want to make sure that you're eating healthy meals because we want to reestablish a very good dynamic for the body. You need B vitamins and you need antioxidants. And so we want to make sure that we're feeding the body good, healthy, nutritious fuel in order for it to right itself. Now, we also want to make sure that we are limiting our exposure to artificial light. So using like blue light blocking glasses in the evening, watching the sunset, doing deep breathing, that's gonna help to regulate your HVR, or heart rate variability. If you have never tried to figure out what your heart rate variability is, it's very easy. You're just gonna feel your pulse. After an activity, you're gonna take a whole bunch of deep breaths. So you're gonna breathe in nice and slowly over a 4 count. Hold that breath for a 2 count, breathe out for an 8 count, hold an empty breath for a 2 count, and then start the process over. And you'll notice that heart rate will begin to descend, and you're gonna notice that there's a wider variation, and that's what we want. We want to be able to bring that heart rate down, to get that resting heart rate down to where it needs to be. We may do some things in the evening to help improve your sleep. Now, I know that melatonin is all over the news currently, and I'm not 110% on board with those studies, because melatonin is a wonderful antioxidant. We use it as a pro-oxidant, a lot like vitamin C. There are some caveats to it as well, but we want to make sure that you're getting the right kind. I like plant-based melatonin. Again, antioxidant, I use it in my mycotoxin protocols as well, but this may help to reestablish a healthy balance. And usually we're doing a 0.3 milligrams herbatonin in the evening, just to kind of get you back into that balance. L-theanine. L-theanine is a wonderful, wonderful amino. So we are actually getting this from green tea. Now, we know that green tea has caffeine in it, so if you're gonna do green tea, you can do that in the mornings. Great for mycotoxins, especially like citrulline mycotoxin. It helps to remove some of the muscle aches and pains with that. But L-theanine is the byproduct of green tea without the caffeine. And so you can take this in the evening right before bed. If you're waking up in the middle of the night, you can take another one. We also want to make sure that your serotonin is balanced, because serotonin is a neurotransmitter responsible for peace, sleep, relaxation, giving you a feeling of calm. That is what is the precursor to melatonin, as is B vitamins. So making sure we get a good methylated B vitamin on board so that we can get your body back into that natural balance. Now, magnesium is also super important for rebalancing circadian rhythms, helping you to sleep better, and putting that cortisol back the way that it's supposed to. Magnesium is one of those things that is responsible for over 300 enzymatic reactions within the body. So very, very important. Now, which magnesium? Because there's thousands of them out there. I like magnesium threonate. It crosses the blood-brain barrier, does just about everything for the body. It's also neuromag if you're getting it from Designs for Health. It's a wonderful magnesium. It is expensive though, because it is good. So a lot of times I might tell you, try magnesium glycinate in its place, and do that in the evenings. And this will help you to relax. It helps lower blood pressure, makes things a lot easier for you, and helps to reset that cortisol rhythm. The other thing that I like is vitamin C. Vitamin C is a potent antioxidant and responsible for a lot of things. Not only is it great for building collagen in your skin, your hair, your nails, your bones, helping with tendons and ligaments, it helps to regulate bowels, it helps to build up the body, decrease oxidative damage, remove free radicals from the body. Very amazing antioxidant. So a couple of vitamin C in the evening as well is usually what we're putting people on. So what does a protocol look like to fix the adrenal glands? Just gonna hit it one more time. I'm usually doing pregnenolone and some DHEA. Depending on what your cortisol path looks like, you may get licorice root or phosphatidylserine. One or the other, never both. And then sometimes I'm not even doing those, we're just doing some adrenal calm or some catecholacom just to put you back into that normal path. Now, we would want to reestablish a healthy balance within the body, so we're doing magnesium, B vitamins as well, a little bit of vitamin C. Sometimes I'm doing something like 5-HTP and tyrosine, something in the form of Crave Arrest. Tyrosine is a precursor to dopamine, so it's going to help to support the adrenal glands to get the dopamine flowing. 5-HTP is a precursor to serotonin, which will help with the melatonin production naturally. If for some reason that's not balancing you out, then we'll add in something like herbatonin, just a 0.3 milligram capsule. Again, this does not replace medical advice, and I would want to see you to structure a program in the office for you that will help you to get on your pathway a little bit easier without having to figure out any of the guesswork. But if you have any questions, give me a call. We are here Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Phone number 812-290-2128, or you can schedule online and you can look us up at empoweringhealthspa.com.